Hello, welcome back to the Crafty Organizer. You guys know I am always so excited about the projects that I bring you, but today is no exception. Today we are going to be replicating a 1940s vintage desk fan with dollar store supplies. Let's get started. I was at a good friend's house the other day and they had this desk lamp that was from the 40s that was spectacular. And it reminded me of a little Dollar Tree idea that I had seen a couple years ago, maybe it was a year ago, of this cute little desk fan made out of a funnel and one of those little battery operated teeny tiny personal fans. And it was so cute, but as I was looking at this vintage desk lamp, I was like, okay, I really want to make this and I want to try and make it look as authentic as possible. So here's what I did. I got this little welcome windmill sign. These are pretty much at Dollar Tree every year. I got an 8-inch wreath ring set. There were 2 pieces, and you just need to make sure that the wreath fits the blades of the welcome fan. I also got a set of funnels. These are in the kitchen department, but also in the automotive. And if you do get a set with different sizes, you can select the one that you think has the best proportions for your liking. I used a simple plier that I got from the Dollar Tree to remove the chain in the back that is used as the hanger. That was really easy to just bend open that chain at the bottom and take it right off. I'll probably use this for something else. You know, us creative people will always save our scraps. The bottom is just an aluminum welcome sign and it's attached to the metal frame of the windmill. I just bent that back and forth a few times and it popped right off. One of the rivets was a little bit tighter, so I used the pliers just to hold it. But once that was done, the aluminum portion just bent right back into shape, and you can save that for something else as well. Now, this was the hardest part. The frame of the back portion of the windmill is made out of metal. So if you try bending it, you'll need to have something securely holding the base of that metal so that you can easily bend the frame. So be aware of that. Once you get it bent up, it's easier to start cutting that wire triangle because ultimately you only want about 2 inches of that wire left over so that you can slide it into the funnel. If you have some good wire cutters, this will be so much easier. I had to basically kind of go back and forth and create a groove until it was small enough for me to cut that off. I got a different wrench that I could really grab onto the wire. This will make it easier to bend. If you have these tools, that's wonderful, but if not, you'll just want to use 2 pairs of pliers because this is a little bit difficult to bend here, and I promise everything from here is super easy. But you'll want to bend this so that you'll be able to slide the remaining wire into the funnel, and you can choose the angle based on what you want the final aesthetic to look like. Now don't worry about it being loose, we're going to fill that up later. The next few steps are optional. This is for distressing. I got a sanding block and just lightly took off the sheen from the funnel. I think this really makes it look a lot more aged and weathered, and you can see the difference between the shiny version and the one that is lightly sanded. I also opted to distress my wreath rings. I just got some of the chalkboard paint from the Crafter Square section and I just blotted it on. You do not have to do this. I wish I had done the rings in silver and done the blades in black, but I did it the opposite way. So the rings are black. I left the windmill the silver and just galvanized it a little bit, but I think it looks really cute either way. But any distressing is up to you. You can spray paint these, you can do the cinnamon technique if you want it to look rusted, or you can paint it a bright and fun color. Now, I was being impatient, so do let it dry 20 to 30 minutes. I kept getting my hands covered in paint trying to do the next step, so I finally had to walk away. Get something that you can plug the funnel with. I had some Play-Doh on hand that I used for a couple of different projects. You can use caulk, you can use floral foam, you can even wad up some wet toilet paper, but by plugging this up, that wiggle room for the wire will be alleviated. Now it's time to assemble the rings, and I found that there were some riveted marks, so I was trying to hide those with the blade, so you'll just want to line that up. I also got a roll of tape just to elevate it so it was easier. With some zip ties, I'm now going to start coming through that outer ring of the windmill, and I'm attaching it to the inner ring of the wreath ring. It just lines up perfectly. You'll notice that bottom wreath is inverted, it's upside down, so it's concave. And I'm just going to attach 2 of the small zip ties, and I'm putting them as closely to the blade as possible so that they are not seen. Now I'll attach the second wreath ring the correct way so that it's rounded on the top. And those cross supports I'm going to line up so that they are together, they look like they're matching. And I'm going to put the zip ties loosely around each one of those cross supports because we really don't want these to be seen. So I'm lightly attaching them right now so that I have plenty of room to adjust before I tighten and cut off the excess. Once I have them in position, I flip it over and I go ahead and tighten the 3 of them and cut off the excess. But I have the bulky port of the zip tie in the back so you really don't see it at all. Now it's time to take that wire and go ahead and insert it into the funnel. This is where the Play-Doh, the caulk, the foam, whatever you put in there will help hold it in place. Because my Play-Doh was very wet, it had not dried, it was wiggling around a lot. So I'm just going to use a foam block that I sanded with to hold it at the angle that I want until it dries. Now, I noticed that I didn't like the look of the wire, so I'm going to create a cover to blend the fan to the base so that it looks more realistic. So I'm just rolling out a little bit, kind of like I'm creating a layer of fondant, and I'm going to wrap it all the way around that wire so it looks more like a connected, realistic piece. You do not have to do this step either, but I really wanted this to look pretty authentic, so I'm just gently molding it and creating a rounded elbow so that it looks like there would be electrical components and a moving part as a mechanical piece. Now the bright yellow's a little bit jarring, so I let it dry for a little bit, and then I went back in with my chalk paint and just covered that yellow completely. By adding and painting this little part, this is when it really started looking realistic to me, and I got excited and came up with an extra step, which is totally optional if you don't want to do this, but I wanted to create what looked like the braided electrical cord. So I had a bungee cord in my inventory of supplies. I cut off the end. I'll save the hooks for something else. So one end is cut off and the other still has the knotted section. I found a drill bit that's the same diameter as the cord, and anytime you're drilling into something, you'll want to go small and then start building up. Because this was rounded and slick, it was kind of hard to get started, so I went in with an X-Acto knife, and I realized pretty quickly this plastic is so soft that I was able to just keep twisting with my X-Acto knife and effectively drill a hole for the cord. Now, my X-Acto knife blade wasn't quite big enough, so it didn't fit through. So ultimately, I did end up going back in with the larger bit just to make that final hole. But if you have a larger blade or a knife, you could do the same thing. Now with the cut end, I was able to just feed it right through, and the other end that is knotted will hold it in place. And look how realistic this is, you guys. I truly was excited. Dollar Tree has this little black and white bungee cord, and I wish I had gone to buy that, but I didn't want to buy any more supplies. I was trying to just use what I had when I got this little inspiration. But if you want the look of the original, authentic, braided electrical cord, you can just use a bungee cord and lightly paint it and it will look the same. But I think I'm probably going to go back and get the black and white one because I think that would look adorable. So now it's time to compare the 1940s original desk fan to my dollar store DIY replica desk fan. Side by side, I think they look pretty good. One thing that I regret doing now that I see them side by side is I wish I had looked at the original first and removed 2 of the fan blades. I'm pretty sure with the aluminum being so soft that I could have manipulated them so they were evenly spaced and twisted them ever so slightly so that it really did look like that replica fan. But I am really proud of this project, especially when you put it next to my vintage cameras and my little antique sign. I think from a distance it looks fantastic, and the silly little electrical cord to me is just the cutest little extra touch for it. It's just over 12 inches tall, which really does match the original sizes of the desk fans. So my project was right around $4. I got everything from the Dollar Tree at $1.25. So I got the wreath, the windmill sign, and the funnel. So it was $3.75. If you needed to buy the zip ties and the paint, obviously it would be a little bit more, but hopefully you have those things on hand already. And if you did decide to add the bungee cord to look like the braided electrical cord, then you would need to buy that as well. But I do usually see those bungee cords at the 99-cent store and at the Dollar Tree. So if you wanted to add that, keep your eye open. You might even have one lying around already. And if it's already stretched out and weathered a little bit, it'll look all the more authentic. So what do you think of this? Is this something that you would replicate? I really tried to make the steps as easy as possible. So the difficult thing was that metal was surprisingly strong. I mean, surprisingly strong. The aluminum I could bend with my pinky, but that metal base on the back, I was not expecting to be as strong. So you will want to use a heavier duty set of pliers to bend that. So just be forewarned. And if you have a better wire cutter, that will make it easier as well. So I was using my Dollar Tree tools. They didn't work as well. So that's one tip that I want to give. But if you do decide to make one of these, please, please, please send me an email with a picture of your project, or you can post them to my Facebook group, the Crafty Organizer support page. I'd love to see your take on it. Are you going to do the vintage style like I did, or are you going to do a nice bright like teal or red to make it look more 50s? If you do post one, I just might send you one of my Crafty Organizer tote bags as a thank you. Speaking of thank you, I could not make these videos without my patrons, so thank you to them. If you would like to become a supporter of this channel, that information is down in the description below. But just by watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing to my videos, you are also helping to support, and I appreciate that so very much. I will see you guys in the next video, which will be just in a few days. Bye.